All right, guys, it's Rob. This is Cappuccino Cunnilingus, episode number 26. Again, this week I am joined by the owner of Famous Faces and Funnies, Rick. We're going to talk some geek news that's come out over the last month, but first we're going to start off with a review of last night's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4 premiere. I watched the entire episode. You just told me you only watched the first half.
Right.
I have to say, for adapting such an intrinsic character like Ghost Rider to TV, they did a great job, especially with the transformation, the character that they chose to do, and getting all of that character's aspects right.
Right.
You know, from the car to, you know, the character's backstory, they touched on a little bit, but I know you don't really mind about spoilers, so I wanted to, you know, get an idea and then clue you in on some stuff that happened on later.
Yeah, cool.
So we saw, just on the beginning of the episode, we see Robbie Reyes roll up on a Watchdogs group that Daisy's been hunting.
Yeah.
And they shoot a rocket launcher at his car.
Right.
Mid-flip,
Yeah.
it transforms through the spirit of vengeance and becomes the Ghost Rider car.
Exactly. Yeah. Very, very cool scene.
Which you can tell it was CGI, but they had it really well to where it looked like, you know, it looked like parts of it were actually shot like on a street, and then they incorporated the CGI into it.
Yeah. Very cool.
And then later on in the episode, Daisy tracks him down at his junkyard, and they fight it out. He initially takes her on without the power of the Spirit of Vengeance, but then once he realizes that she's an Inhuman, he says that her power is, you also have the Devil's power in you.
Gotcha.
So he thinks that, you know, she's like him. Basically what happens is they fight it out. He transforms into the Ghost Rider. It freaks her out at first, but then she's like, oh wait, I have superpowers.
Yeah.
So they fight. She realizes that, you know, it's too much for her to take on alone. So they kind of like go their separate ways, like after like clashing heads and not getting anywhere.
Right.
It's pretty much, you know, I'll stay out of your way if you stay out of mine kind of thing.
Cool.
Which is good because also later on in the episode we find out that, you know, he is an anti-hero. You know, she says that he's been taking out people in the community that, you know, have prominent good roles, but not necessarily people that that if you look at their choices behind closed doors, the Spirit of Vengeance would be very unhappy with them.
Right. Gotcha.
You know, she said that he killed a teacher, and his immediate response was pedophile.
Right.
You know, having that backup there, like to be able to say this is what this person was doing, really speaks about, you know, what we're gonna see from this character.
Yeah.
So, anything you'd excited to look forward to in regards to Ghost Rider?
I mean, I think it's cool. There's a lot of people that weren't sure why they didn't go with Johnny Blaze or Danny Ketch or, you know, one of the more known characters, but I think it's cool. It's definitely interesting going with the newer version of the character. But yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out over the season, and yeah, hands down, if all the comic shows keep up as great as they've been the last few years, I mean, yeah, it's really like a golden age of just nerdy television, and we're lucky to have so many fantastic shows to look forward to. So yeah, just excited to see where it goes from here, and obviously I think there's some other new characters, and characters are going to expand their roles on S.H.I.E.L.D. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out, but Ghost Rider sounds like it's off to a good start. And
also in the episode, right at the end, we see Fitz and the scientist guys.
Oh,
the
right.
scientist guy, Jonathan from The Mummy.
Yeah, right.
He's showing Fitz his LMD.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That part I got through. The beginning of that, at least. So
yeah. He tells him about it. He's just like, listen, it's not a weapon, but if we can make this right, I think you S.H.I.E.L.D. people would like it.
Yeah.
And Fitz is just like, I can't tell Simmons about it because she'd have to tell the director and stuff like that. So it looks like we're going to see Fitz toying with LMDs this season, which would be good for...
Yeah, right. Fits right into the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. Mythos and stuff, so should be pretty good. So, very cool.
And then while we're on the topic of comic book TV, what also premiered this week was Gotham Season 3.
Right.
very interesting episode. A little I'm a little surprised at what characters they decided to prototype, from Indian Hill. I think that it was a good idea to showcase a couple of the characters' powers the way they did. Also, with the introduction of Vicky Vale,
Right.
that's a huge part of the journalism aspect of Detective Comics. It's a character that helps not only Jim Gordon, but eventually down the line helping Bruce Wayne, figuring out certain things. We also see Bruce Wayne going to the board of directors and saying, I know you guys have some secret stuff going on. If you do not tell me, I will show the world this, and some of you might get fired for this.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah, the whole Court of Owls thing I think is pretty exciting that they're bringing that in. That's definitely one of the best additions to Batman story in the last several years. So, the Court of Owls, there's a lot of potential to do some cool stuff and kind of have a whole season of that. I'm surprised they got so heavy into it right in the first episode, and it kind of started that that big that quick. I thought it would kind of be a slow build up and not really until the end of the season. But yeah, so far maybe they're just going to go the first half of the season with it. But yeah, the first Gotham back was really good. I thought it was interesting with what happened to Poison Ivy to kind of get her to change.
I think they did that well.
I thought it was handled well. Yeah, I was like, how are they going to explain like a 13-year-old girl becoming
22 years old?
Yeah, exactly. Like have her change so dramatically. But that's cool. I guess that makes sense to drain her life force and make her older. Like showing this guy that did that on this other character. So yeah, it's interesting. We'll see how it goes.
And the other prototype of characters, we see Man-Bat. Right. We see a prototype of him. Yeah. We see the Life Drainer. There's also another person that Fish Mooney had with her. I think he was. I might be thinking of something else, but I think she had a speedster with her.
Possibly, yeah.
Unless I'm thinking of something else.
I'm not sure who the other character exactly was supposed to be, but yeah, it's interesting. It's a good mix of these characters. I'm not sure how well the weird clone of Bruce Wayne is going to go.
Isn't that Clayface?
I think so. I think that's what it was, but it's just weird that he doesn't seem to know who he is or whatever, have any memory.
They shocked his brain at the end of last season, so it might have fried some stuff up there.
True. So yeah, so we'll see how that plays out, but it'll be interesting with that whole angle. So hopefully it delivers. But yeah, so far so good. Having Jim Gordon be a bounty hunter and introducing a few new characters and having Fish Mooney back. So yeah, it's off to a good start so far.
And I really think it'll take off hopefully by the second or third episode. I think, by the time we get really deep into the Court of Owls story, we'll start to see some more inner workings of Gotham.
Right.
And then with Gotham on the mind, I wanted to talk to you about the Batman Telltale game. They just released episode 2 this week. Cool. I watched a friend of mine play through episode 1 and now through episode 2. The main storyline, it looks like, is going to be, the fall of the Waynes in Gotham, and bringing to light their mob connections and showcasing, what they did that Bruce didn't know about and what Alfred has hidden from him. And I don't know that much, detailing into the Wayne family mythos. So I was hoping that if you knew anything on that, you could probably elaborate.
I mean, they generally haven't had it where his parents have been too dirty. They've generally tried to, always keep that they were, really good people instead of going too dark. But I understand, obviously, with the, the continuity of the games and the movies and the shows and the cartoons and everything, they obviously you can only run off so much of the same stuff before you kind of got to go a different path. And since it's its own continuity, they're obviously able to kind of branch off and say that Bruce's parents may be involved in mob stuff. So it's interesting. I'm sure there'll be some reason where it was, they were doing this, but it was against their will, or there might be something deeper saying it wasn't really, was their only choice. But at the same time, they're not going to say, these were terrible, terrible people. And that's the big twist, is that Batman's parents are these people that deserve to die or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's awesome and refreshing that they can keep coming up with new stuff and make it work and not have to change everything about it or say, this is the way it's always been in the comics suddenly. It works to have a new story to build off. I think that's fine. So should be pretty good.
And then since we last sat down and talked, we have confirmation that we're getting Deathstroke in the Batman solo movie that's being directed and produced by Ben Affleck and Jeff Johns.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited. Deathstroke, I'm a little biased because he's been my favorite character for about 25 years now, but seeing him blow up kind of after Identity Crisis about 12 years ago, people were like, "Oh, who's this new character?" I was like, "Well, let me tell you." But yeah, he definitely it's awesome. I mean, I know they just showed a few seconds of footage, but everything looked great. Really excited about it, and yeah, I think hands down it's going to be a great fight. I think it's good that they didn't just go, "Hey, we're kind of doing the new Batman movie. Oh, it's going to be him and Joker." Like that would be a little much to kind of go right back into that. So him and Deathstroke, I'm really excited to see where that goes, and there's a lot of potential to do some really cool stuff there. So should be pretty good.
And speaking of the Joker and stuff like that, we have confirmation that Harley Quinn is getting her solo movie.
Oh yeah.
They keep flip-flopping back and forth between like a Birds of Prey type thing, or if she's going to go towards setting up like a setup movie in between Suicide Squads.
Right.
It's up in the air right now from what I keep seeing, but I keep hoping that they do Birds of Prey,
right,
because those DC characters have had so much story and so much just things happen to them that they need to showcase on the big screen.
I agree. Yeah,
it'll definitely draw people back to comic books and be like, hey, why did this happen?
Right.
You have this set of books to show them and be like, here's that story.
Yeah.
So
cool. Yeah, I think so. I think I'd like to see. I mean, DC's always had a great history of very cool, very strong female characters, and some heroes, some villains, very well rounded. Obviously, the good news is the last few years, Marvel's expanded very heavily into putting out so many female titles. But if you look back about 5-6 years ago, there was 0 Marvel titles. At one point, ironically enough, the female Ghost Rider that was only around for 9 issues was their only female character, and before that it was Spider-Girl, which between all the relaunches was around for 125 issues. But outside of that, there was years and years where Marvel didn't have more than 1 or 2 books with a female lead. Right now they've got like 10 of them out of about 100 books, which is great, which is at least a lot of progress. Mm-hmm. But yeah, DC's always had a pretty good mix of characters, and yeah, things like Birds of Prey and and Batgirl, all the other female characters in Gotham, good or bad, they've got so much story there. So yeah, I'm excited. Whether they just focus on Harley and Poison Ivy and Catwoman, the Gotham City Sirens kind of group, or the Birds of Prey, whether it's the female heroes versus the female villains, that would be an awesome movie. So yeah, there's a lot of potential there, just some cool stuff. So we'll see where they go with it. So we're really excited for that one.
And then jumping back over to Marvel to close out the TV and movies, I wanted to talk about Luke Cage coming out in just under 10 days.
Yeah, should be good. Yeah.
They released the posters of the 3 main villains.
Right.
We knew for certain that we would be getting Cottonmouth, who,
right,
for the longest time was Luke Cage's like main villain in his books.
Yeah.
Also coming is going to be, I have it right here, Mariah Dillard and Shades. Don't know much about these characters, but if they're giving them their own posters to
right,
bring in an audience, I'm sure that there's got to be story somewhere where they either rival or cause enough trouble to Luke's life that he has to deal with them.
Right.
And bringing 3 villains to one show as opposed to in Daredevil we only had Kingpin, and
right,
then in season 2 we had Punisher and Kingpin.
Yeah.
And then in Jessica Jones we only had the Purple Man.
Right.
So I think having an expanded villain cast is definitely going to showcase what this character can do.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can't say I'm that familiar with the either of the later 2 characters, but yeah, Luke Cage has just been an interesting character. Obviously, the last few years they really built him up in Avengers, and he's come a long way from the very 70s, sweet Christmas yelling, tiara wearing, yellow shirted character that he started off as. And Brian Azzarello and then, of course, Brian Michael Bendis really kind of transformed his character, made him such a more major player in the Marvel Universe. And yeah, I was very excited. Like, Jessica Jones, also probably my favorite book. Alias, especially that fourth volume that focuses on Purple Man, is my favorite thing Brian Michael Bendis has ever written. So I was very happy to see Luke Cage and Jessica Jones get married and have a kid and everything. The last several years of the comics, as those characters became more intertwined. So yeah, it's going to be exciting seeing Luke Cage. Seeing a whole series about him and kind of really fleshing out a character. The funny thing for us in our store, it seems like the less people know about the characters before they watch it. Like, we sold more Alias or more Jessica Jones graphic novels than we did X-Men or Avengers in the last 2 years. At least off of new people coming in to go, hey, I want to know more about this character. It's like the X-Men Age of Apocalypse movie didn't really move the needle, or, your average comic, even like Civil War. We sold a good amount of Civil War, but it wasn't I probably sold more Jessica Jones comics than I sold Civil War comics, even though that movie made so much more, so many more people saw it, made tons of money, but it's the less people that know about the comics, the characters come in to find out more. And Jessica Jones, sure enough, they came right in and went, oh my God, I want to know more about this character. So, yeah, I think same thing, Cage, we'll see the same turnover where we'll have people coming in going, oh, what's the best Cage story? And I'll be like, well, there's a few good ones, but there's not that definitive thing like the Purple Man story with Jessica Jones. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be good. It's always cool when new characters kind of get people into comics. So we'll see how it goes. Would expect to see kind of a new audience these next few weeks as people binge watch that. So
I would say some of his best stories would be like Heroes for Hire and stuff with Iron Fist.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some of that it's not that it's bad. It's just for me some of it's a little dated. I mean, I know it's kind of blasphemous to say this, but for me, most comics before I don't know, a lot of 70s and 80s stuff is, I have a lot of respect for where these characters came from, but the same reason I'm not going to go home tonight and watch I Love Lucy or, Casablanca or whatever. I'm going to watch something new and modern, and that keeps my attention. So for me, I'm not usually diving into 60s, 70s, even 80s comics, some of that stuff, just the sensibilities of what's sold and what was entertaining at the time. We respect the hell out of it, because without that we wouldn't be where we are with these characters. But at the same time, today's stories are much deeper, and I think there's a whole other level. So yeah, we have some pretty good Heroes for Hire stuff, some of the essentials and some of the other stuff. But yeah, I wish I could say, oh, here's the definitive Cage story, and unfortunately there's even a few decent ones that are probably out of print that hopefully they'll get back on soon and have back out in the next few weeks.
And then jumping over to the comics side, you had posted a picture earlier this week, and I want to use it for the video.
Sure.
About just exactly how much DC's Rebirth and how much they've put into their new line of books has really affected the way the comic book market is going right now.
Oh yeah.
And just having the visual proof that Harley Quinn or Suicide Squad has sold this many copies compared to Civil War 2.
Yeah.
And having the visual proof of that really speaks volumes for the content that they're putting out and what type of things they're doing with their characters.
Oh yeah, certainly. DC is absolutely just on fire. Someone even did the math and basically said, I think DC at last month put out about 70 books total, which is there's about 52 total comics coming out a month on the Rebirth side, or total superhero books from DC. 39 or 40 of them are part of the Rebirth line, and they're still ending things like Justice League of America has an issue 10, and then it'll stop, and then it'll just have the book that's already running, and then a second one called Justice League of America, in a few months. But they haven't announced a creative team, so we're hoping it's someone big like Scott Snyder or some other big name that really hasn't been as heavily involved as I'd like in the Rebirth stuff. But so far so good, even with some of the creators that haven't been giant names or big sellers last few years. They've just done a great job of making the books accessible. The $2.99 price point in every single book except one book, All-Star Batman, is $4.99, but it's 40 pages story. Outside of that, they've done an awesome job and just really made the books accessible, and tons of new people diving into it. So yeah, there's titles like Suicide Squad and sold the one issue sold 180,000 copies. One issue sold 227,000 copies, something crazy like that. Where compared to like Captain America, even with the big bombshell of oh look, Captain America, Hail Hydra, got everybody talking, and sure enough, people are going crazy. Well, here we are. We're on issue 4 already, and it's already trailed down to 49,000 copies. So the fact Suicide Squad's selling, 3.5 to 4.5 times that on their first few issues. Of course, some of those will be returned because it's a returnable book, but man, it just shows you the market that people are really trying new stuff. And I know we've sold over 100. We're only selling about 20 or just under 20 copies of Captain America, even with the big revelation as to what's going on there. But yes, Suicide Squad has sold 110 of one and 122 or 23 of the other. So yeah, it's crazy, and it's just flying out the door. But yeah, hats off to DC for just really getting a whole new audience in here. And it's funny, some of these books we only have 20 subscriptions for, and then we're selling 80 copies. And I'm like, oh my God, we're selling 60 off the shelf? That's not normal. We'll normally have 60 subscriptions and sell 10, 12, 15 off the shelf, So, and even that would be, on a pretty big seller. So yeah, so it's a lot of new people checking out the Rebirth stuff, and mostly everyone's enjoying it. So it share controversies, things like the Superwoman thing. A lot of people were mad about that, expecting Lois Lane book, and then being like, oh, she's not around by the end of the first issue. but yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, and yeah, a lot of books have done really well. Detective Comics and Action Comics are some of the highlights that people didn't really expect much out of, and they've done really, really well and sold a whole lot of copies to a lot of it to a whole new audience. So yeah, hats off to DC for what they're doing.
Is there a top 5 that you are keeping an eye out on?
For us, it's ironic. Correct. The good news is it seems like the best sellers are the best books. There's a few books that are selling really well that are like Justice League is okay, and it should be better considering it's Justice League. I wish they'd got the right writer on there. And Brian Hitch is not a bad writer. He's a fantastic artist, but he is he did a pretty good run on Justice League. Jared, my coworker here, really enjoyed it. He said it was one of his favorite Justice League stories in a long time. But yeah, I'm not certain. Maybe his second arc will pick up things some more. But his first arc on Justice League, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. It wasn't worthy of those great characters. So I don't know. I kind of wish they got a different. Maybe they'll look at it again and go, hey, we're going to kind of go with another writer, starting with the third arc or something. So. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so far the main Batman book's doing really well. Detective Comics has been great. Flash is one of my favorite books, and right at the center of the whole thing. The Titans with Wally West is really exciting, just because he kind of kicked off the whole thing with Rebirth. Him coming back was the biggest part. Those are All-Star Batman by Scott Snyder. That's kind of not a very diverse group, 3 Bat books and Titans and Flash, but so far those have been some of the best stuff. But yeah, honestly, almost all the titles are selling real well. There's only a handful that are not selling crazy numbers. DC had 39 of the top 50 books last month. Marvel only had 3 books in the top 30, which is crazy. So they had Spider-Man at number 4 for issue 16 of that, which was tied to a dealer incentive to get extra copies for ordering a certain amount. And then outside of that, it's kind of funny how little there's not a single Civil War tie-in in the top 40. I think some of the the first Civil War tie-in books were late 40 or early, I don't know, somewhere in the 40s and a lot in the 50s and 60s. But yeah, the first Civil War, every tie-in was craziest. This book normally sells 30,000. It sold 100,000 because of the tie-in, and this one it's almost like a kiss of death. I think we sold less of the Deadpool that tied in Civil War than the ones before it that didn't. So kind of weird. What a weird thing. So this week's going over to Marvel. This week's Civil War had a pretty cool kind of a moment, but again, how much it plays out and where it's at by the end of the series, we'll see how it goes. But there's something pretty cool in Civil War 5. It's kind of like the not quite as big a deal as the big death in issue 3, but it definitely had kind of a second wind, so hopefully that picks things up and gets people more excited about this event. But yeah, I'm not sure. Right now, the market's just not really feeling it, and the $4.99 price point scaring people away.
And is it still an 8 part event?
Yeah, 8. They changed it from ending at issue 7 to ending at issue 8. They're saying it's the same ending. It's just a better way to tell it. But it's also that book. Was supposed to end in this month. Supposed to end September, early October, and then all these October books are supposed to come out of it. So now it's we're ending on December 28th. I'm Yeah, if you couldn't make your first few deadlines, then you added an issue that's supposed to be like 56 pages or something at the end. Good luck with that. So I'm pretty sure it'll end in late January or something. And at that point, there'll be 3-4 issues in on these new books that are all building out of it. So how are you supposed to keep those things a secret on how it's going to end? It's the same thing they did last year with Secret Wars. So
yeah, I was just about to say, because they had made it an 8-part event, and they said, by the end of the summer, everything will be ready.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up issue 9 until January of the next year.
And that's just it. Is Marvel, it's not like they're new at this. They've only been doing this for several decades. You should at this point know how fast your writer and your artist are, and all these things that tie into it are building off the ending of it. So you have to get your event out on time, especially since like issue 1 and issue 2 are only a week apart. I know it didn't take the artist a week to draw that second issue. Took them 4 or 5 weeks. Why in the world would you put them out that quick and then not have two? Their Civil War 4 and 5 were 8 weeks apart. That shouldn't be that long. You shouldn't have a whole month of August with no Civil War tie-ins. So it's just ridiculous. It was like shipped late July and then again late September for the next issue, and it's like God knows when issue 6 if they'll actually ship when it's supposed to 4 weeks from now. So, but yeah, it's just Marvel's gotta their next event, which man they've got to just slow down on event to event. Even the end of Civil War X-Men, it just feels like it's not an ending. It's just a transition into all right, well get ready for Inhumans versus X-Men. That's what this is building to, and it's like, are you kidding? Like one event straight into the next. You guys have got to take a break there and give fans a chance to actually, enjoy these books instead of just one earth-shattering event that changes everything forever right into the next one that does the same thing. And when it's all said and done, it's just kind of overkill. So, I don't know, this is the first time we've ever seen this much price resistance and this much just apathy towards Marvel. So the event, and relaunch everything every year formula is just kind of getting old,
Mm-hmm. I had something and then I lost it. With Marvel, doing all these tie-ins and everything, is there something that you would like to see them do with like the TVs and the movies with a tie-in? Because right now there's a little bit of hesitation as to where the TV universe aspect stands with the MCU movies.
Right.
And, there's people on one side saying, they're not connected, but then you also have, in the Netflix show saying, the event that, aliens came from the sky, and then, with the TV show setting up the events of Age of Ultron and Winter Soldier and all that, there needs to be some continuity and people to come out and say, yes, these are all connected, and you should pay attention to what's going on here because it'll translate to something over here.
Right.
And with Doctor Strange coming out, that's delving into the mysticism with, the devil and spirits and stuff like that with Ghost Rider is good when you're trying to introduce Doctor Strange. But at the same time, you're not going to have any deeper connections there.
Right.
There isn't anything, deeper than like surface level stuff to really bring it together.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it's cool that they like the Netflix shows have referenced they made small references to the Avengers and the related films and stuff, and I kind of wish and hope. I mean, there's at least some. I don't know, unless they've said otherwise, that they won't be like, hey, we'll have at least some small role of like the Netflix characters in the Infinity War movie and stuff like that. I would hope there'd be at least some small part. I kind of think it's cool that it all fits in the same universe, and the Netflix movie isn't, oh look, it's Daredevil saving the fate of the world and blah 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 blah, the same way the Avengers did. It's like, no, he's trying to save what's important to him and in his town. And same for Jessica Jones and I'm assuming for Cage. I don't think we're going to have look, Cage literally saved 7 billion people. But it's I think that works, having like that down to earth characters that aren't super crazy overpowered like Silver Surfer or something, and then saving the big giant moments for the Avengers and the Marvel movies and the Civil Wars and stuff like that. So I think I wish we would see at least a little more reference, even if it's just a small thing where you see Jessica Jones or Luke Cage or whatever in the background of something in the the upcoming Marvel movies. Even if you saw Luke Cage literally walk past Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorium or something. That would be awesome. The small little
Jessica
things
Jones getting a bottle of whiskey at the
Right,
corner
there
liquor
you go.
store, walking
Yeah.
past the Sanctum. Yeah,
That would be great. So, I mean, that would be awesome to have these little tiny, just, quirky things that would be just a big, cool Easter egg for the fans without going, oh man, it totally cheapens Doctor Strange because they showed a Marvel character that's in the same universe, just happens to be around the corner. It's not like Jessica Jones is gonna punch something for Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Some demon or whatever. I would say I think it works. I think I would like to see more interplay between the Netflix shows and the Marvel movie stuff, but they've obviously shown it's worked one way, and obviously it's harder to convince the movie guys, hey, you only got 2 hours of this whole character, so you need to work some small thing in for our fans. But yeah, hopefully they'll keep doing stuff like that and really keep it fun, a little more lighthearted like the Marvel movies are, more than the DC stuff. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
And to jump out of DC and Marvel, I wanted to show you these pictures. I'm going to put them in the video later. We got the movie posters for the new Power Rangers movie that's coming out next year.
Right.
It's the Rangers sitting on top of all of their Zords.
Yeah, cool.
We have the main five with, their respective colors.
Right.
And not too much talk in regards to if any other Rangers are going to show up. There were rumors at one point that we might see like a Green Ranger or White Ranger, but not anything more than the main five have been readily announced.
Yeah.
The main reason people were talking about the rumor of the Green Ranger was because Rita Repulsa looks like she has a pseudo Green Ranger thing going on, which she gives the Green Ranger the power from herself. That's part of that transition.
Right.
But having that little Easter egg in the back of everybody's mind, really brings the idea of, all right, maybe it'll be like a post-credit scene where it leads to another movie.
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that fans, especially these last few years, I mean, that's just something fans look forward to. And there's been I've seen a handful of movies where the post-credit scene is the coolest moment in the whole movie, which is every once in a while, or one of the coolest moments at least, because it tags pops up and throws something out there where you're like, wow, no one expected that, kind of setting the stage for the next thing. Obviously, Thanos popping up at the end of end of the Marvel movie to kind of show build up for this thing that is years and years and years to get to, but it's still got everybody talking and going crazy from there. So yeah, I'm thinking it's probably, I could see it as a post-credits thing, saving something big for like a second movie and bringing people's appetite to, oh my god, I can't wait to see what happens next. So hopefully that's their long-term plan, and we'll see where it goes.
All right. Just to do a little bit of other geek news and talk about some stuff that's come out and happened. They aren't the actual shoes from Back to the Future, but Nike just released that they're going to be doing their first self-lacing shoes.
Right.
End of this year, beginning of next year.
That's pretty wild.
They look like running shoes. They're going to be self-lacing. Basically you just slip your foot in, you hit a button, and it just tightens them around your feet till
That's hysterical, right?
Till it gets to the right part. But it's that time. It was predicted to happen last year, but getting around to it within 2 years, I would say that's a win.
Yeah, definitely.
We had Google made a video in 2015, basically like spoofing the idea of, hey, Pokemon Go, how come we don't see, people with augmented reality going out and catching Pokemon?
Right.
Within 2 years, they made it a reality.
Yeah, that's crazy, right? So
having the ability to go out and do those little things like that really says a lot for, what things we can expect from companies, if they really put their minds to it and really wanted to, bring in an audience that, will buy it. If, I know sneakerheads out there are probably like, yeah,
right.
Of course I would want those.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are just like, I really want those because they look really cool.
Right. True.
And, I don't want to have to tie my shoes anymore.
Yeah. That's so funny, right? Yeah, I mean, the sense of nostalgia isn't going anywhere. I mean, there's all these people that just go ape over everything they grew up for, and every once in a while, someone will go, oh, hey, I rewatched this movie, I rewatched this cartoon, and it wasn't quite as good as it was when I was a kid, but it's kind of insane to me just how much stuff we sell that's based off things people were into 20, 30 years ago. And even now, it's like we see more and more customers that have been customers for 20 years going, oh yeah, I just got my kid to watch this I just watched Goonies with my family the other day and they loved it. They thought it was a great movie, even though it's 30 years old. So, yeah, it's definitely cool that they're still able to, come up with these crazy technological advances that tie into something that we already have an affinity for. So, yeah, it's interesting that they keep coming up with new and creative stuff all the time. So, yeah, very, very cool.
All right. I think... Ooh, here's a good one. I don't know how deep you are into it,
Right.
but just last week we had American Horror Story start up again.
Right.
I didn't watch season 5. It's still sitting on my DVR
Gotcha.
to watch the entire thing. But I'm really hyped for this new season. Don't know if you care to watch it or if it's anything you're interested in.
I haven't seen last season or this one yet, but yeah, I guess this one is like a Roanoke kind of thing.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's interesting that they left it so open-ended that like no one seemed to know because they put out all these like, hey, here's this little teaser and here's this little teaser. And
it was all tributes to famous Hollywood horror movies.
Gotcha.
And different like ghost stories that people have told for generations and stuff.
Right.
The main basis, from what I've been drawing from people that have watched it, it's a main story, and then at the same time, there's a documentary being made about the story that's going on.
Yeah.
So you get the main story of what's going on in the 1600s or whatever in Roanoke.
Right.
And then you have a current time where you have basically like a Blair Witch kind of thing going on with a documentary being made about the events that happened.
Yeah, cool.
And you have certain people playing. So, for example, you have the main character, Sarah Paulson.
Right.
She's in the old timey world,
right,
where Lily Rabe, who was a character in season 2,
right,
is back to play another character, and she is playing Sarah Paulson's character in the documentary.
Gotcha.
So it's actors playing actors from
right
from a different point.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, nice. I mean, so far, yeah, I've enjoyed all the first 4 seasons. And so yeah, I knew they'd keep it pretty strong. It's just been a pretty creative show. I think it's cool that have the same actors every year, or a lot of the same actors keep coming back, and they definitely found great roles for some of these people. That some who were really big before the show, and some who kind of blew up with the show. But yeah, I've always enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to seeing this season and seeing where it goes.
And I wanted to talk to you about the Emmys. Game of Thrones swept huge up at the Emmys.
Yeah, that's giant, because I mean, honestly, a lot of the big, nerd stuff that's huge with the fans doesn't always catch with the critics. So that's a pretty big win, but just shows you how strong it is and how much everyone's loved, especially this last season, going past the books and everything like that.
But the main issue a lot of people have had, I think she would have deserved the award, mainly because just coming this far with the character and getting to do certain things. A lot of people think that Lena Headey, who plays Cersei Lannister, was snubbed. They feel like that she deserved the Emmy this year for her performance. 6 years in, and she's not only made a character so hated by an audience, like to the point where like she'll go to a Comic-Con and nobody wants her autograph because they just hate her character so much.
Right.
She'll have people like talking to her and being like, "Yeah, I'm just here to get everybody's autograph, but not you," and stuff like that. It's just like, as much of a slap to the face that speaks volumes for her performance.
Right,
and how
exactly.
high of a quality of an actor you have to be
Right.
able to get people to feel that way.
Yeah.
And having that transition from being disliked in the first season to now just being like the bane of everybody's existence with this show.
Right.
You know, I don't see why they wouldn't want to give it to her.
Yeah.
And why, a character like Ramsey, he through the books and through the show, he progressively got worse.
Right.
She has always been this bad.
Bad from the beginning, right? Yeah, and unlike.
But they just keep making it so that way you see more of it. And
right.
It's just like, why don't you give her this?
Right.
Unless they're waiting for her big death scene or something.
Yeah.
Be like, all right,
yes.
now you
right.
can have it.
Gotcha.
But they took 12 Emmys, I think.
Right. That's incredible, right?
Including, I think, writing, supporting actor, and I think visual effects.
Right. Cool.
I think they took those as the main ones.
Right.
But just having a comic book show like that,
right. Yeah.
it definitely says that critics are coming over to our side now.
Very good. Yeah, I mean that's awesome. It's funny how much it's changed and how much the audience for this stuff's changed, and comics that some that were giant hits in the comics industry, and some that were kind of loved by the critics but not really read by a million fans. I mean, it's so cool to see what diversity we're putting out there as far as comic book shows. The fact that there's seriously, including all the Netflix stuff and everything, there's 15 different comic book shows that are out a year. I mean, that's insane. Years and years ago, it used to be like, oh, there's that one, just Smallville or just this show or whatever, and there was that one comic show. But now it's like so many, and
toss a stone, you hit one.
Right, exactly. I mean, just there's literally comic shows up against other comic shows at the same time spot.
And from the same company too.
Right. It's crazy. So yeah, it's such a weird thing. But yeah, it's awesome to see things like Game of Thrones, and I don't quite see Walking Dead seeing as much like Emmy consideration or whatever. But for me, obviously that show is giant. Everyone loves it too. I mean, not quite. I won't say it's on par with Game of Thrones as far as the levels of writing stuff. But yeah, it's definitely insane to see how much cool stuff is out there. Another one I'm super psyched for is just Hulu having access to Runaways. They're talking about doing a Runaways live action.
I heard.
I hope it sounds like it's live action at least, which super excited about that. Anything by Brian K. Vaughan, I'm a little biased because he's my favorite writer in the history of comics. Right up even above like Robert Kirkman or Jeff Johns or the legends in this industry. But yeah, Brian K. Vaughan, just Runaways is phenomenal. The funny part is the only part that's really not kid friendly is like issue 1. There's something a little dark in there, and I wonder if they're going to tone that down a little to have the next Stranger Things that's not quite that can be appreciated by everyone, but not be like afraid to lose the scare away a kid audience or whatever, and go, oh, this definitely isn't for kids because in the first issue their parents kill people, like kill someone, kill a younger child. So it's pretty wild. But yeah, Runaways is definitely one of the greatest concepts Marvel's introduced in the last 20 years, and hands down, I'm probably more excited about that announcement than almost anything else for TV or movies for a while. So yeah, definitely good to see so much cool stuff being made, and just so many great nerd shows, being such big hits. So it's awesome how much the audience has come around to it.
Yeah, they're looking at Runaways for Hulu, and then over on Freeform, which used to be ABC Family,
right,
they're looking at Cloak and Dagger.
Wild,
trying to bring that up.
Yeah, kind of.
Which
awesome.
Would make sense now that they're trying to do like mysticism and magic and stuff. I think it would be good to introduce those characters.
Right.
Maybe that can be the tie-in to the Runaways, and bringing that fringe to the main MCU.
Exactly.
Bringing those characters into this fray.
Right. Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's just great to see characters I never thought we would see, on the big or small screen, coming around. So it's definitely good to see so much of that stuff hitting the mainstream and being so well received from there. So yeah, Runaways I'm super excited about. I can't recommend the series enough. Anyone tries the first graphic novel and doesn't love it, bring it back. But anything we recommend, there's always a money back guarantee. But yeah, Runaways is phenomenal, and I'm super excited to see see a TV series of that. So it's really, really good news.
Now, you mentioned Stranger Things earlier. Did you watch
Yeah. Right, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good.
I haven't watched it.
It's solid. I mean, everyone's loved it so far. I enjoyed it. I don't know. It feels like everyone that's seen it is like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing I've seen in a million years. I'm like, I enjoy it quite a bit, but some people, I think it's like maybe just the first thing along those lines they've watched or something, where they're a little overhyping it or whatever. But no, overall I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It was very clever, had some really good moments, and did have a fantastic cast, mostly of unknown actors outside of like Winona Ryder and one or two other people that. That aren't necessarily household names, but yeah, the for younger cast that really kept your interest, and did a great job. Stranger Things very, very similar to Paper Girls by Brian K. Vaughan. So it's that same like, okay, what's going on? Is there monsters? Is there time travel? Is there like what exactly is happening here? But yeah, it's just a very, very clever series that's set in the 80s and has a lot of great moments to it. So. Obviously it's been watched by millions of people, but yeah, Stranger Things was really good, and everyone's super excited about that. They're already working on filming for season 2, so should be good.
I'm trying to think, what else has come out that I'm running on a little bit of sleep and kind of thinking of a whole bunch of different things. There was something else that came out recently. I forget what it was. Might have been something.
Yeah, that's all the big comic news comic related, like comic culture kind of news I can think of. But
Fear the Walking Dead. I forgot that started up again.
Right.
I haven't watched since the end of the break.
Right there with you. Yeah, I just haven't had a chance. Like either trivia just run over or like whatever. Every Sunday we do trivia at Broken Barrel in the back room, and there were a few weeks where they had the back room tied up for like fantasy football kind of stuff or whatever. So I just haven't had a chance to watch the second half of the season of that yet. So I know a few people that are really enjoying it, a few that are liking it but waiting for the hook that Walking Dead has, But yeah, hopefully it'll end strong for this season, leading right into the main event in Walking Dead, seeing how that goes. So that's definitely going to be crazy amount of people tuning in for that one. And yeah, kind of cracks me up when people are like, oh man, no one should talk about this till I have a chance to watch it on Tuesday or Wednesday. If you are on Facebook, if you're anywhere, if you have anything resembling social media, if you are not watching the return of Walking Dead as it airs, do not expect to avoid getting that spoiler for you that night, because find a way.
And the fact that we haven't had any leaks yet.
Right. Well,
it really says volumes for what they really want to accomplish.
That down. Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I'm the kind of guy that snoops around a little. And in years past, there was episodes I could have told you almost word for word every scene that happened for season premieres or season finales. And they have, as it stands, I think they're already filming episode 12. They only film up till November. And I think right now they're on a break, so they're hitting 12. They either just started 12 or hitting 12 when they come back after a week of week break. But as far as there's some rumors about who's not there and who is there and whatever. But yeah, they've done an amazing job of keeping it locked down, and they just said, oh hey, we believe it's this and this. Is someone that's given us some correct information before, but yeah, they've definitely locked down. I know they're doing a lot more filming at Tyler Perry's studio. That he has this giant amount of land in Atlanta that they worked out a great deal where they've been able to kind of keep it away from people, because there's videos of staff of Walking Dead walking up to people going, you're not allowed to film here. He's like, I'm standing in my driveway. You can't tell me what I can and can't do. He's like, if I'm in the middle of the, if I'm right outside of where you're filming, that's fine, but you can't tell me to leave my driveway on my property I own. So it's so Tyler Perry Studio has given them a lot more room to kind of keep a lot more things hidden, having access to that. So yeah, it's amazing how little has leaked out, and that a lot of a lot of rumors here and there, but yeah, no one knows for certain, compared to like years past where sometimes 4 or 5 months in advance I was like, oh okay, this character dies. Oh, they filmed this character going away, or this character hasn't been spotted in months on there, so that means they're dead. So, but yeah, there's some rumors, but yeah, nothing is as near lockdown as it's been in years past.
And then I just remembered the other thing, because we didn't talk about any of the CW shows.
Right.
They released the season 5 poster for Arrow.
Right.
Looks like Oliver is going to be taking up the mantle of the Green Arrow again. Hopefully,
Of course, right.
more so this season than previous ones.
Yeah.
A couple other people, have been cast for the TV show. He's had in the WWE an ongoing feud with the wrestler Cody Rhodes.
Right.
Cody Rhodes will be making an appearance in this season of Arrow.
Right.
I don't know if he's going to be playing a villain or if he's going to be showing up as himself to talk to Oliver Queen. I don't know, but having the wherewithal and the ability to play with these different universes and have this person show up here.
Right.
I really like that they're sticking to whatever relationship they've had going on.
Right.
So it really says DC likes to let their actors play around and have fun. So I'd like to see that continue.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, the hopefully the CW shows stay as strong as they've been. But yeah, I'm excited for all of them coming back. I mean, Arrow, I know last season or two were not quite as well liked as the first few seasons, but yeah, hopefully this fifth one will be good. And I know there's a lot more vigilantes and characters running around. So hopefully, even if you don't like this character, you'll pick up on Vigilante or Wild Dog or somebody that catches your eye. But yeah, it should be cool. Hopefully Arrow and Flash and now Supergirl and CW and Legends of Tomorrow all really stay strong. So it should be good.
And I guess to wrap it up, Kevin Smith's currently up in Vancouver filming his Flash episode.
Oh, that's right.
If it's anything like The Walking Dead's filming schedule,
right?
He's probably filming either episode 9, 10, or 11.
Right.
I think.
Yeah.
He's been saying that his episode has a lot of action in it,
right?
Which is different than his previous episode,
right.
Which is basically Flash doing Clerks.
Yeah, right.
him doing a lot of dialogue to to the Speed Force.
You got it.
But it looks like this one's going to be a little more action-packed, cool. A little bit more in-depth with the characters that we know and love.
Right.
So I have high hopes for him because he has proven, in the past with, coming in to do other people's stuff, he can do it.
Right.
It's just given the right direction and being like, I trust these people to go and do their stuff the right way. Right.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm always been a long-time Kevin Smith fan, so I hope that I'm sure he'll do a great job. I mean, overall, I've enjoyed all of his TV work and and all his movies. So yeah, I think it'll be solid. And obviously, he's a lifelong comic fan. So he has an affinity for pretty much all the classic superheroes and stuff. So yeah, should be a lot of fun to watch.
All right. Unless you have anything else, I think we can wrap up this episode.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think we've covered all the important stuff. So yeah, thanks again for having me. Always fun time.
I'm going to give the store plug real quick.
Come check us out at Famous Faces and Funnies up on Wickham and New Haven. We are at 3020 West New Haven Avenue in the old Metro West Plaza where the Metro Theater used to be. We've got an 11,000 square foot store with thousands of comics, graphic novels, toys, games, you name it, we got it. So just got a pretty good sized store here with all sorts of stuff. So come check out our store. Anything we recommend, you got a money back guarantee on.
All right, that's episode 26, guys. Thanks for coming and listening. Next episode is going to be a very special one. I had the chance to participate in a roast, so expect that within the coming weeks. Later.